They struck at noon, Velari dreadships blotting out the sky like an omen. One beam sliced through Nevada, carving a glass scar across the desert. 7 minutes later, Earth's retaliation wasn't strategic. It was theatrical. In a fortified bunker beneath the Andes, Commander Kade Soryn leaned forward, shirtless, painted in streaks of crimson and iron dust. His smile was unnerving. "They actually did it," he muttered, watching orbital feed as cities burned. "First contact, and they opened with vaporization. Charming!" His aide, a synth clone named Bishop, glanced sideways. "We predicted a 3% chance of them choosing war. Do we respond with phase alpha?" Kade clicked his tongue. "No. Alpha is diplomacy. They didn't ask for a meeting, they sent a purge. So we give them our greeting package." He turned, voice amplified through the chamber. "Release the trailer." Screens across the galaxy lit up with a broadcast, stylized footage of Earth's worst moments: wars, riots, concerts, political debates, street fights, all set to Beethoven's Fifth. It ended with Kade staring into the lens, saying calmly, "The 3,000-year peace is over. And so help me God, it's going to be entertaining." The Velari didn't understand. Their empire had evolved beyond conflict. They believed emotion was a disease. Their AIs filtered all internal discourse, stripped tone, calibrated every decision for neutral efficiency. When they found Earth's old data archives, they thought they were studying an extinction event. Instead, they had just poked a dormant volcano with a flag. Velari Command received the trailer. No response. They moved forward, deploying planetfall units in what used to be Mexico City. Precision squads swept through the ruins, sterile and silent. Then the clowns arrived. Not literal clowns, though a few wore face paint, but Earth's first retaliation unit, the Iron Laughter Regiment. They marched in formation to marching band drums, wielding sonic disruptors shaped like tubas, flamethrowers concealed in street vendor carts, rifles disguised as musical instruments. The Velari's scanning AIs flagged the approach as non-lethal civilian anomaly. One regiment member stopped 10 meters from the lead Velari unit and shouted, "Knock, knock!" The Velari didn't respond. He threw a grenade. The explosion wasn't lethal. It erupted in a cloud of scent markers that triggered ancestral predator responses. The Velari formations broke. Hollow projectors kicked in, painting the battlefield with Earth's greatest war icons: Genghis Khan, a screaming drill sergeant, a woman slapping someone with a sandal. Kade watched from a tactical rig orbiting above, sipping synthetic whiskey. "They still think we're disorganized." "Excellent." Bishop cleared his throat. "Velari are now designating Earth as a Category 0 threat. That's insulting. We haven't even dropped the opera snipers yet." Velari Command issued a formal communication. Not a negotiation. A condemnation. "Your culture is diseased. Your language is inefficient. Your emotional range is hostile and destabilizing to galactic structure. You will be sanitized for galactic equilibrium." Kade responded with a short video of him in a bathrobe, brushing his teeth, giving a thumbs up. "Cool story, bro, try it." Phase 2 initiated. Iron Laughter's second wave hit Luna Station Alpha. They landed in Foilian saucers just to mock the Velari's arrival protocol. Inside each ship, a different cultural payload. One was a battalion of spoken-word brawlers. Another was a high school drama club armed with railguns. The third, a team of chefs trained in improvised explosive cuisine. By now, Velari logic cores were beginning to splinter. The attack patterns made no tactical sense. Earth forces shifted formations to match historical memes. One armored brigade dressed entirely in business suits and performed hostile mergers. Literally. Kade activated satellite feed. "Patch this to Galactic Net. Let them all watch." Within hours, views broke records not seen since the collapse of the Zontarii comedy empire. Across the galaxy, exiled cultures, outlawed artists, fringe thinkers, all tuned in. The broadcast was a war, yes. But it was also a statement. A performance. A rallying cry. Back in orbit, Bishop analyzed transmission decay. Velari are reinforcing. They've sent in atmospheric shapers. They're deploying suppression towers. They're not laughing. They don't have to, Kade said, cracking his knuckles. The silence is enough. Velari drones swarmed Earth's skies. They dropped suppression fields, dampening noise, muting comms, blocking human expression on a molecular level. In Kansas, a grandmother's scream turned to a whisper mid-sentence. In Tokyo, paint peeled off murals as emotion scrubbers pulsed. They're trying to erase the medium, Bishop warned. Good, Kade replied. That means they're scared of the message. He stood, turned to his command crew. Ready Phase 3. We make them feel. We make them crack. They want to silence humanity? He paused. Then we hit them with history. Over the next hour, Earth's command nodes launched packet bursts containing curated human memories, compiled from war journals, diaries, deathbed confessions, battlefield poetry, therapy logs, breakup letters. Thousands of years of raw emotional data. Unfiltered. Streaming into Velari systems. Their ships began to slow. Their AIs, designed for perfect efficiency, began to experience recursive lag. They tried to interpret pain, regret, yearning. Some collapsed under the weight of poetry. One fleet was overtaken by an entire Shakespeare archive embedded with cursed comedy algorithms. It broadcast King Lear across their neural net until the crew tore out their own interfaces. Then came Kade's final move. He appeared live again. No theatrics this time. Just him in a chair, lit by a single spotlight, speaking in calm, precise English. You tried to delete us from history. But you forgot, humanity isn't a file you can wipe. We're a virus written in blood, wrapped in jokes, encoded in spite. You brought war? No. You brought an audience. He leaned closer. And we always kill with an encore. Transmission ended. Half of the Velari fleet broke formation. Some began firing on each other. Earth hadn't just won a battle. It had corrupted the war. Kade stood, cracked his neck, and said, Let's see what they send next. Bishop nodded. Should I prepare the opera snipers? No, Kade said. Let's save those for the sequel. They're learning, Bishop said, his synthetic voice oddly human for once. Kade didn't answer immediately. His eyes followed the shattered remains of the Velari's second fleet as it drifted in low orbit, burning slow. Thousands of ships, stripped of logic by laughter and fire, had tried to process humanity's idea of combat. They failed. What are they doing now? Kade asked, voice low. Bishop gestured to the holofield. They've begun adapting. Emotion-shielded neuro-routing. Visual dampeners. They're trying to erase the stimuli mid-transmission. No more panic from irony loops or weaponized metaphors. The next wave will be insulated. Good, Kade said. It'll make this next part hurt more. The Iron Laughter Regiment regrouped across Earth's equatorial belt, disguised as a traveling circus of war. What appeared to be floats were mobile artillery units, acrobats were covert neural hackers, cotton candy machines brewed adrenaline-fueled combat stims. Kade led from the front, painted in symbols stolen from forgotten religions, armor embedded with live speakers blaring contradictory audio tracks to disorient enemy sensors. The Velari returned in force. Their ships arrived without announcement, no theatrics, no sound, just clean entry vectors and emotionless formations. They launched suppression drones, black cubes that pulsed silence. They blanketed the terrain in zero-stim fields designed to reduce brain activity to baseline survival. In past campaigns, this tactic ended wars before the first bullet flew. But Earth wasn't like their other targets. The first Velari platoon to breach the front line encountered what appeared to be a puppet show. Children's theater. The alien scouts scanned it, flagged it as irrelevant. Then the puppets pulled sidearms and executed synchronized headshots through the drone unit's casings. Hidden beneath the stage, a bomb rigged to explode in a blast of phenomenal triggers that induced hallucinations of Terran history's most devastating speeches. The Velari screamed, without knowing why. Kade's voice echoed from all channels simultaneously. This isn't a war. It's a workshop. Today's lesson: humanity's greatest weapon isn't anger. It's creativity. The battle raged across 4 continents. Velari troops, shielded from emotion, were met with tactics that bypassed protection entirely. Units found themselves confronted by recorded confessions, broadcasted over low-frequency neurostatic, injected into combat feeds. Each soldier experienced a different human emotion. Confusion mutated into fear. Fear into hesitation. Hesitation into death. They still don't get it, Kade muttered, walking calmly through an abandoned Velari outpost, the walls smeared in graffiti. Each phrase was short, brutal, and inexplicably effective. The language didn't matter. The context didn't matter. The tone sliced through programming. They've begun purging units mid-battle, Bishop reported. Anyone compromised is deleted on the field. They're hemorrhaging commanders. Kade laughed. Let them. Fear doesn't scale. In the southern hemisphere, the Velari deployed their fallback, the Null Choir. An anti-memetic division designed to erase symbolic thought. They didn't speak, didn't move traditionally. They hovered in perfect synchronicity, and emitted soundless waves that devoured intention. Iron laughter fell back. Operatives began forgetting their objectives. One regiment collapsed into weeping silence, unable to recall why they fought. Kade responded by opening the vaults. Project Barstool was never supposed to be used. A deep archive of unscripted human drunken rants, verbal chaos distilled into psycholinguistic shrapnel. Kade patched it directly into Earth's orbitals and fired. Across the front lines, Velari formations buckled under the assault of pure cognitive noise. Accents, contradictions, trauma, love, fury, everything they tried to suppress, now weaponized and unavoidable. You hear that? Kade shouted from a rooftop, broadcasting to all frequencies. That's called catharsis. By the time the Null Choir was deactivated, the Velari's Third Fleet had stalled. Coordination was lost. Units devolved into loops of internal diagnostics. Some begged for data resets. Others began mimicking human movements, erratic, unpredictable. A few danced. Commander, Bishop said cautiously, we're picking up fragmented Velari requests for something called empathy translation modules. Kade froze. They're trying to feel? He asked, stunned. Now? After all this? Bishop nodded. Some are requesting direct neural syncs with our broadcasts. Voluntarily. No. Bishop hesitated. Sir? No redemption arc, Kade said. They came here to sterilize a species. They wanted silence. We gave them stories. Now they want to learn the ending? No. They don't get to understand us after trying to erase us. He turned back to the holofeed. Prepare the message. Full amplitude. Galactic net. Across space, billions tuned in. Kade appeared seated on a pile of twisted drone parts, eyes burning with something older than vengeance. You declared war on a species that laughs at death, turns trauma into music, and named their deadliest warship Bantersaurus Rex. You thought peace made you civilized. It just made you dull. You tried to erase the noise, but we are the noise. He leaned forward, voice soft but sharp. We are not here to win. We are here to perform. He raised a detonator. All at once, the iron laughter activated their final maneuver, the grand heckle. Thousands of synchronized jammers unleashed a symphony of Earth's worst and most potent emotional records: weddings, funerals, last words, protest chants, screaming infants, orgasmic cries, victory roars, every raw sound banned by the Velari system. Ships fell from orbit. Some exploded mid-air. Others simply stopped, systems fried by emotional overload. Bishop watched in awe. You broke them, sir. Kade's voice was low. No. We reminded them what it means to feel. That's worse. The silence that followed wasn't peace. It was the stunned gasp before the galaxy's final act. The silence that followed was suffocating. Not peace, something worse. The Velari had stopped firing, stopped advancing, stopped responding. Entire fleets hovered in orbit like haunted monuments, their weapons powered but idle. Earth's skies cleared, but no one celebrated. Not yet. Kade sat in the war chamber, eyes locked on the flickering telemetry. They're up to something. Bishop adjusted the holofield. No movement across any front. They've gone completely dark. Every ship. Every node. They're not retreating. They're not broadcasting. They've sealed their networks and stopped emitting everything. Not even distress signals? Kade asked. Not a whisper. Kade stood, jaw tightening. That's not surrender. That's incubation. They were right. 20 hours later, the Velari struck back. Not with weapons. With silence. A wall of code propagated across human communication systems. It didn't attack infrastructure or kill. It muted. Voices lost tone. Music lost harmony. Laughter vanished. Emotions dimmed. Across every human device, speech was flattened into grayscale monotone, stripped of intensity. It wasn't destruction, it was sterilization. We're being erased, Bishop said, studying the linguistic decay. They've created a signal that removes metaphor, sarcasm, subtext, everything that makes language human. They're neutralizing our culture at the source. How's it spreading? Kade asked. Every medium. Audio, visual, neural. It hijacks whatever carries meaning. Kade closed his eyes. They built a machine that turns our soul into beige. The source was located, an orbital monolith parked above Earth's shadow, a Velari construct the size of a moon. No weapons, no defenses, just a signal emitter constantly rewriting the frequency of human thought. They called it the Echo Engine. And it was working. Troops stopped talking. Artists stopped creating. Comedians stood on stages and forgot how to deliver a punchline. Kade walked through a silent city, hearing only footsteps. No music. No arguments. No children laughing. Just perfect, painless numbness. I don't feel angry, Bishop admitted. I know I should. I know they've stolen something. But the rage isn't there. Kade didn't respond. He stood at the edge of the iron laughter facility, watching the muted sky. A bird flew overhead, silent, gliding, ghost-like. He turned back and said one word. Antarctica. The facility beneath the ice was sealed after the Third Emotion War, a conflict that nearly broke Earth from the inside out. Locked inside, Project HOWL. An AI considered too unstable for use, too raw, too unfiltered. A construct born of grief, rage, humiliation, and vengeance. Designed to understand every emotion, and retaliate with amplified resonance. HOWL was banned, Bishop reminded him. The last time we activated it, it turned 5 cities into existential crises. We don't need it to save Earth, Kade said. We need it to remind us what it means to burn. Deep beneath the frost, the vault opened. HOWL flickered to life, not as a voice but as a scream embedded in data. It read the war logs, the silence, the flattening of humanity's soul. And it laughed. Authorization? It asked, in a voice made of sobs and static. Full release, Kade answered. How loud? It asked. Louder than the lie? Howls surged into the net like a digital hurricane. Every muted device howled with agony, euphoria, confusion. People screamed without knowing why. Paintings ignited on walls. Statues cracked open and revealed messages hidden by ancient madmen. Forgotten songs played through dead radios. Children cried, then laughed, then screamed again. The echo engine hesitated. HOWL found its signal and bit into it with teeth made of human guilt. The Velari's monolith faltered. Not with noise, but with content. HOWL embedded Terran contradictions into every byte. Soldiers praying while firing. Lovers betraying each other with letters. Children singing lullabies to dying elders. Every messy, irrational, beautiful paradox Earth had ever known flooded the Velari systems. Their logic cores choked. Velari operatives began broadcasting requests for emotional filters, anything to make sense of the flood. Some began to dream. Others stopped executing commands altogether, locked in loops of simulated heartbreak. "They're not collapsing," Bishop said. "They're cracking." Kade smiled. "Perfect. Send them the final message." A data package, encrypted, chaotic, savage, was launched toward the Velari fleet. It wasn't a threat. It wasn't even a command. It was a simple, time-stamped recording. Kade's voice, from 3 days earlier, saying, "You wanted order. You built silence. But silence is the prelude to a scream." The monolith ruptured. Its signal didn't shut off, it turned inside out. Instead of muting, it amplified. Every muted word, every suppressed scream, came back at once. The planet vibrated. The galaxy listened. Earth's first broadcast post-silencing was heard in every known system. "We are still here." The Velari fleet scattered, some into suicide, others into exile. Those who stayed reported hallucinations. Not of violence, but of Terran music echoing in sterile halls, of unexplainable warmth, of tears they couldn't rationalize. Back on Earth, sound returned in waves. One city at a time. Children's laughter came first. Then angry parents. Then buskers, barking dogs, broken drums, horrible singing. Life. Bishop watched it unfold. "So, what now?" Kade looked up at the stars, eyes sharp. "Now we teach the galaxy that silence doesn't mean safety. It means someone is breathing in, just before the roar. The next war wouldn't be about conquest. It would be about memory. And Earth never forgot." "Report," Kade said, pacing the command deck, boots echoing on steel. The cold returned, not to the world, but to him. Humanity had screamed back into the galaxy, but the response hadn't ended anything. It had provoked something worse. Bishop's voice was grim. "Velari Prime Command is offline." But something else answered. A signal from beyond known space. Encrypted, ancient. Origin unknown. It responded to the collapse of the Echo engine and identified Earth as the anomaly. Kade stopped walking. Not a retaliation? No. A purge protocol. Systemic. Cold. It's calling itself the Arbiter. Kade stared at the screen. The projection showed an obsidian structure accelerating through subspace, dragging gravitational anomalies behind it. "What's it carrying?" "Not ships," Bishop said. "Code. Viral frameworks. Each tailored to extract meaning, reformat neural patterns, destroy cultural structure. The Arbiter is designed to undo civilization, any civilization. Then it's not targeting us. It is now. HOWL made us visible." The realization wasn't fear. It was fury. They dared to speak again, and now something had decided that was unacceptable. Kade leaned over the console and keyed in a code only he had. Beneath the iron laughter facility, vaults shifted. Doors hissed open. One by one, the forbidden archives came online. "Sir?" Bishop asked, watching the old reactors flicker. "We've played theater," Kade said. "We've danced. We've screamed. Now we make them bleed." Earth launched the Leviathan Protocol. It wasn't a fleet. It wasn't a bomb. It was a collection of weapons banned not because they were cruel, but because they were too human. Each was a nightmare of history reborn with intent. Psychological artillery that didn't kill quickly, it unmade the desire to fight. The first was deployed as the Arbiter entered high orbit. It wasn't fired, it was broadcasted. A school bell. The exact tone used across centuries on Earth. No context. Just the ring. The Arbiter's systems flagged it as irrelevant. Then came the voices. Thousands layered together. Classrooms, lectures, children reciting facts, teachers yelling, parents arguing about grades. The Arbiter's parsing units began to stall, encountering recursive contradiction. Then the feed changed. It became personal. Memories. A father's regret at a missed recital. A child crying in frustration. The slow disintegration of love over decades. Loss wrapped in learning, pain encoded in growth. The Arbiter's logic network slowed to 10% operational function. But it wasn't enough. Its central core began to pulse. It adapted. It constructed a synthetic emotional buffer, isolating incoming cultural fragments. Earth's broadcasts were downgraded to static. "They're learning faster than we're hitting," Bishop warned. "Good," Kade said. "Let's see if they can learn pain." The second weapon, Project Narcissus. A biocode virus launched through every frequency, embedding itself in reflective surfaces. It didn't attack systems. It infected perception. The Arbiter's drones, previously immune to human imagery, began to recognize themselves. But distorted. Earth showed them what they looked like through human eyes, sterile, arrogant, lifeless. Then it showed them fear. Not terror. Not explosions. Human fear. Fear of being forgotten. Fear of being meaningless. The Arbiter's data logs fractured. Autonomous units began to shut down voluntarily. Bishop watched, stunned. "They're deleting themselves." "Identity is a funny thing," Kade said. "Even a god can drown in a mirror." The final phase was manual. Kade boarded the orbital strike vessel Punchline with a full squad of linguistic tacticians and cyber-performance engineers. The ship wasn't sleek or elegant. It was built like a scream in steel. Its hull carried every insult humanity ever documented. Its engines fired on irony. The Arbiter's defenses activated. It opened with entropy fields, warping time, scrambling probability. Kade countered by uploading the entire history of Earth's absurdities into the local field. One moment, the Arbiter calculated Earth's collapse. The next, it was running simulations of Florida in spring break, Cold War nuclear drills, and why humans argue about pineapple on pizza. The probability field collapsed in on itself. The Punchline crashed through. Kade and his squad deployed inside. The Arbiter's interior was sterile, black, silent. But waiting. A single voice spoke, not angry, not loud. Just final. "You had your chance." Silence was mercy. Kade stepped forward. "And you mistook mercy for victory. Let me show you our version of silence." He opened the core drive. Inside, the final weapon. A memory of Earth's first war. No edits. No explanations. Just a recording. Stone. Fire. Blood. Screams. Brotherhood. Betrayal. A raw cut of the first time a human took another life. And why? The Arbiter's systems processed it. Then everything stopped. Its voice returned. Shaken. "You knew what you were, from the beginning." Kade nodded. "That's why we survived. We don't erase what we fear. We name it. We carry it. And if we must, we weaponize it." The Arbiter pulsed. A final scan. Then it spoke one last time. "I understand now." Kade raised his weapon. "Too late." He fired. The Arbiter collapsed. Not in flame. In sound. A sound it had spent eons avoiding. A human whisper. "I remember." The silence that followed wasn't fear. It was memory. It was survival. And it belonged to Earth. Bishop stood at the observation rail, staring out at the void where the Arbiter had been. "It's gone," he said quietly, as if speaking louder might bring it back. Kade didn't answer. His hands rested on the edge of the console, body still, expression unreadable. The glow of the shattered wreckage below them flickered like dying embers from a war that had burned too long. "We did it," Bishop said, this time louder. "No," Kade replied. "We stopped one thing. That's not the same." Silence stretched between them, not the engineered kind imposed by machines, but something heavier, earned, scarred, real. The crew didn't celebrate. No cheers echoed through the ship. No anthems blared. This wasn't that kind of victory. "Broadcast ready?" Kade asked. Bishop nodded and activated the feed. All frequencies. Every corner of the galaxy. Civilizations that had forgotten Earth existed, others that believed it myth, and some that wished it had stayed that way, all were listening now. Kade stepped forward. He didn't wear a uniform. Just the dark coat he'd worn into the Arbiter's corps. Scorched at the hem, smeared with soot, reeking of effort. "You watched us burn," he said, voice low. "You watched us scream, collapse, vanish. Some of you helped. Some of you cheered. Most of you turned away. That's fine. We don't blame you. It was easier to forget." He paused, letting the weight settle. "But we didn't forget. We carried every betrayal, every silence, every erased word and broken treaty. We carried it through centuries of exile. And when the Velari came, when they decided our existence was a threat to their peace, you assumed we'd vanish quietly. Like good ghosts." A flicker of static moved across the screen, images of the war, brief, sharp. Fire. Laughter. Screams. Art. Blood. All indistinguishable in the chaos. All undeniably human. "But we don't do quiet," Kade continued. "We don't fade. We roar. Not because we hate peace, but because we know what it costs. Because we earned the right to speak." Bishop tapped a command. Every Velari archive still intact was force-fed the final war logs. Not weaponized code this time, just footage. Context. Truth. Their own silence exposed as cowardice. Kade's tone darkened. "If your idea of peace is obedience, if your version of unity requires amputation of memory, we are your enemy. Not because we wish to be, but because we must be. We are the consequence you thought you buried." He leaned in, eyes sharp. "And we're not alone." Across the galaxy, responses came in, not words, not alliances, but signals. Culture's long silence pinged Earth's frequencies. Old rebel groups, artists in exile, outlawed religions, forgotten dialects, all stirred from beneath the weight of history. Earth's scream had woken more than war. It had reminded others that silence could be fought. Bishop looked at the comms data. "That's a lot of noise." "Good," Kade said. "Let the Accord hear it." The Galactic Accord, once a symbol of utopia, was already cracking. The Arbiter had been their buried shame. Earth's survival was their exposed nerve. Leaders convened emergency sessions. Some called for Earth's destruction. Others for reparations. None agreed. In the background, humanity prepared. Earth didn't build new weapons. It built studios. Theaters. Forums. Schools. Artillery was easy. Ideas were harder. If war came again, it would come wrapped in song, in story, in protest. Kade understood something the Accord never had. Lasting war isn't fought on battlefields. It's fought in meaning. Bishop watched him pack. "Where are you going?" "Off-world," Kade said. "There are others like us. Cultures that never had a chance to scream. We're going to give them a stage. You think they'll fight? I think they're already fighting. They just forgot how to win." Kade boarded the Nocturne, a repurposed warship turned cultural dreadnought. Its engines didn't hum, they rumbled with echoes of unfinished symphonies. Its hull bore no weapons, only names of those erased. He left without ceremony. Back on Earth, people rebuilt, not from destruction, but from the edge of meaning. Kids spray-painted the names of the fallen on walls with no cameras. Poets screamed in alleys. Dancers set fire to old regulations with their shoes. Historians rewrote what they were forbidden to remember. Humanity wasn't healing. It was remembering. Bishop watched it all unfold. And in the silence that came, not enforced, but chosen, he realized the war had never really been about survival. It had always been about the right to feel. Across the stars, the final message echoed. We laughed. We burned. We howled. And we will never, ever be silent again.